welcome back, man. I think what's interesting here with you is you're back, but I just asked the Reese brothers, hey, I want to do an interview with you and Grandpa. And they said, nah, you should do the interview with Cale, because his comeback is more important than anything that's going on with us. So what do you want to say today about the team, about the new venture that's going on with you? Tell us where your heart and your mind are at right now.
Well, I mean, I would probably argue with him a little bit. They already know I like to argue. But I would argue and say, I raced with Kurt. I mean, when I started off cutting my teeth back in Hot Street days, I mean, years ago, all motor small block stuff, basically whenever, the old man said, yeah, you can go racing, but you're doing college first. And I remember, I was out there getting to race against Kurt, back in the day. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of come full circle. We got a lot of similar connections. I mean, Kazi's always been like a godfather to me. We go back and, the Glidden family, of course, being close. And so there's a lot of the Ford, background. So, I mean, I would say it's just as important. And, I mean, today, this has been a little bit of an adventure. I mean, it's about making a teamwork thing happen. It's about teaching as much as possible. And most people know with my clutch business and the stuff we do, the one of the things I love teaching. I love teaching everybody because it's our stick shift stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm biased to it. I want more people to know how to run a stick shift car. I don't want people out here running automatic just because they don't understand it, because the knowledge isn't out there. So to me, that's an important thing to teach. That's fun. And the thing that really attracts me the most with both, Derek and Miles, is that they are willing to put in the work, put in the understanding. And it's something Bob Glidden taught me when I was young. He said, a lot of times when it comes to a crew guy, I'd rather take somebody a little greener, and show them what they need to know than to break a bad habit. And you don't have that, and you have very open minds to learn, but they have the depth and the background. They're not that green. They've got the background. It's just, it's kind of the same thing where there's a good family structure there. So it's a clean slate, but it's a clean slate that's got history and knowledge. So, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of potential there. And the nice thing about it is it's really knowing that everything that we do is going to be we can take small successes. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to have little things. But ultimately, the goal is to get it to where everybody's learning. And, maybe not this race, maybe not the second, maybe not the third, but pretty quickly, everybody finds their functions. They find their jobs. They find their fitment. They find how everything works together. And then it turns into, teaching. It might be teaching driving. It might be teaching strategy in the staging lanes. I'd say it. We like playing games with each other. We all do it. It's part of pro stock. It's something. Got some friends here, this weekend too, that really explaining things is the difference between pro mod and pro stock. This is where it comes to get intricate. This is where it comes to get very finite. And this is where but that's where it's fun. That's where the structure is. So.
Yeah, that's where the structure is, and that's where the history is. And so the history of it comes up with me. We got 16 cars on property this weekend, Cale. It's really interesting to see how the class is making a resurgence. And I'll tell you something. I've never heard people talk about pro stock the way they are today in the media center. They are really excited about it. They are very in tune with it. And we are really excited to see who's going to make it to 3 seconds. And then I said to myself on the way in to the facility today, maybe we shouldn't hit the 3 second zone, because the interest has peaked. Everyone wants it to happen so bad. Boy, it would be just good if we could hold on to the 4 second zone for another couple of years. But that's the selfish side of me. And I know all of you guys are Mavericks and you're pushing for that 3 second. What would it mean to you? I mean, if you and your team achieve that this year or next year?
It's definitely doable. It's in the very near future. Something I was actually talking about earlier this morning was about, I was kind of explaining a pro mod situation. And it's nothing, against any guys in the pro mod. I mean, I got a lot of friends over there. But it's like, it's the main thing is just, it changes a lot. I've noticed, the people, the families. And I just started looking here and I was like, it's funny, from when I was racing just a few years ago until now, we've had a little bit of loss. Some of the people that were there, we've lost a few of them that are not here, and that had a lot of the history, but there's still a lot of them out there. I mean, you go down the roads right now and you got guys like Monte Calvo's been doing this for 30 years. You got Tommy Lee, same thing. You've got J.R. Carr. You've got, I could go the list on and on and on. And, Placino's. And it's the thing where there's a lot of history there. And that's something about pro stock. And it's like, my dad, obviously, I grew up with understanding Larry Carrier, founding, with IHRA, with Bristol, the history of mountain motor racing, where it comes from. And it's nothing, I will say right now, it's nothing against any of the NHRA stuff either, but that's something why door car racing was such a big, important thing from that perspective, and where the IHRA and the ADRL, the PDRA, our history of that, what you can do with a door car is, it's not just about the same thing over and over. We're trying to evolve the sport. So, that 390 thing is the same thing as, the only thing I will say about hitting a mile marker like that is something my dad taught me is, it's whoever wins the race today, nobody cares tomorrow, because all they care about is who's going to win the next one. When you get the record, nobody cares. All they want to know is who's going to set it lower. And so it's always an evolutionary chase. And that's the thing that I love about Pro Stock, and I think what we're going to see right now, we've got some guys out here, we're a little green, we're doing a little teaching, we got some more newer equipment, stuff's getting ready to come out, refine some things. We're going to be ready to step on it really soon, and yeah, I would love for these guys to get it. Heck yeah, we'll do it. It's what we'll shoot for. I'm not one to really shy it out. I want to go for whatever we can go for. But the thing that's interesting, I think, about the class is, I was just talking about, I remember in 2007, 2008, 2009, 32 cars at Rockingham, did all these races, and we're trying to qualify, and that's coming back. It's slowly coming back. And that's a very big, that's huge. And I remember many times in ADRL we were racing and, qualifying 16-car fields, and it was, 600s, or less, 1 to 16. Right now, if you thought about that, if you got a 401 qualifier and that it's 407's bump spot, that's tight. That's really tight. But you know what? That's Pro Stock. So.
That's Pro Stock. And car counts, man. How you feeling about that, man? Isn't that something?
It's really cool. And I tell you what I really like. The thing that's really interesting about Pro Stock, and I've always thought this is kind of funny, you see some cars out here that are a little older. And so many people get too busy worrying about the little things about new. It costs more, it's got to be better. Now, the thing that's interesting about Pro Stock is it's kind of like another story I was telling earlier today was the thing about carburetors. I remember my dad, his first set of split carburetors, split dominators, down a bandsaw. You made them yourself. The Braswell didn't produce these things, back then that wasn't a thing. So you think that's just one thing. I could go on and on and on for days about technology that everybody else is running through all the other classes that was developed through Pro Stock. And that's why that it is the R&D of the drag racing world. It's the car counts, I think, are going to continue to grow, and it's a thing where so many of the cars people are realizing now a lot of things can be updated with suspension, things can be done, and I actually think it adds a little. I'm going to maybe sound a little funny with it. I actually kind of like seeing some of the older cars, some of the stuff that's early 2000s stuff, because it adds a little diversity, adds a little bit of character. Because, that's the only thing that was always different. Really, the biggest weird thing about Pro Mod was you could come out with anything you want, even a Harold Martin type thing. And nothing against Harold's thing, that's cool, but you could do anything you want. And here it was always, no, you had to be new body. And I still believe it needs to be relative to, but at the same time, I like it that it's not something that's right off the showroom floor in the last 3 years. What's happening is Mountain Motor's doing something that 500-inch never did. It's independent businessmen who are working their butt off, driving their stuff, getting in here, and doing everything they can to be here. And there's so much there it just adds so much more diversity to things. I think what's happening is the class is evolving, and the little rule changes, the little tweaks. We did it. I feel Mountain Motor did it right. You want to run fuel injection? You want to run carburetors? You choose. I think it's been proven time and time again. Was that was it one or the other make or break you? No. But is it something to play with? It needed to be played with. There's other things. We got different transmission options. But with the thing about Pro Stock, there's little things you can have different. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same thing. So when you line up there against the guy you're lining up, it's the playing field is as equal as you can make it. There's not weight breaks, there's not all this stuff. It's just run what you brung, and hope you brought enough.
So what about the billet heads? Since you brought up rules and regulations and that potential change, how do you feel about that?
There's a few different things about that. Personally, the thing that I will say, where I come from, a rule change of that, I think it has validity at a certain point. I don't think now is the time. And the reason I don't think now is the time is when you start getting car counts, a lot of people are, like right now, you can't get connecting rods. You can't get a lot of parts. I'm in the clutch business. We're just fighting to get materials to make clutch discs. I got 30 clutches sitting there just waiting on discs right now. That's something we're dealing with. So, you start looking at, like, getting parts. Well, now if you start upping the cost, where now to be competitive, I've got to go spend 60, 70, 80, $100,000. A lot of these guys out here have one engine. They don't have 3 or 4 spares. They don't have that. Well, now to be competitive, you got to start your engine program all over again. That's a problem. So what I would kind of say in something like that, in order to do that, would be my recommendation, and hope that everybody kind of maybe understood what I'm coming from with this, because I was always the budget guy doing it. I wasn't able to do all that crazy stuff. I have done my own head programs. I've done it, but I had to do it very, 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 carefully. But I would say this: if it's something they want to do, talk about it and look at maybe a 3, 4, 5 year plan and say, we're going to get there, that's where we're going to go, and let people plan for it. Don't say next year this is when it is. Say we're going to do it 5 years down the road, we're going to evolve to that. It's kind of like several years ago they talked about going to the, say 1,000 cubic inch thing. Well, that just meant everybody with a 5-inch board, normal stuff we've been running forever, it's gone. But how do you make the class go faster? The thing that I find interesting is this. I was running 4.0s 12, 13, 14 years, or whatever. I mean, well, it's not that, sorry. But yeah, I mean, 08, 09. And so it's like, we're not really that much different. But the interesting thing that I'm starting to see, why these cars are going quicker, is something that Mountain Motor is doing. It took them a while, but they're doing it. They're evolving other things and trying different things they didn't try before, finally getting outside the box. And it actually, I feel, something that's so important in integrity of the whole class is, and it's so interesting, and it has nothing. I don't want my 500-inch customers, friends, to take this the wrong way, but 500-inch, if NHRA they didn't have it, it's just kind of gone. Mountain Motor has done something that is so interesting. The fact that we lost IHRA for a bad deal. I mean, well, everybody knows what happened there, in 09, and jumped right into ADRL, and then PDRA comes. And then you also had the, back to IHRA for a little bit, which obviously where I had my accident. But the interesting thing is we were able to adapt and stay alive. And that is something that I just don't think that's easy to do with these type racers at this type of a level. That, even though there's headbutting even today with some of the NHRA versus the PDRA thing. But at the end of the day, what everybody has to understand, don't change rules, don't do anything that affects your car count. If you get extra money to make a purse and you can make it 10,000 to win instead of 5,000 to win, take it and split it over everybody. Make it sure that round 1, 2, 3 guy, that's taken care of. Whatever we can do as a class to keep the cars here. So that it says 16 next week, and next time it's 20, the next time it's 24. That's what we have to do. That's what's going to, it has to be what's better for the betterment of the class. So.
Well, Cale, thank you so much for your time. We've taken enough of your time. You've got to get back to the crew. And listen, it's so good to have you back. And now is your time. Apex Motorsports, Cale Aronson, thank you very much.